Bitcoin, crypto, bubbles, passive indexation. There's a lot of financial jargon out there. Old Mutual can help you make sense of it all and give you great advice to make the right decisions. If you've got a question or want to know how to get the most out of your money, call them on 0860 60 60 60 or speak to an Old Mutual financial advisor or your broker. Today's the day. Get great financial advice so you can do great things. Old Mutual is a licensed financial services provider. Jesse Clegg, we got a sinking feeling. I want to make you talk about money for the next 20 minutes. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thank you, man. Nice to be here.
When did you write that? You got that sinking feeling reading the papers in my
that's
bed?
actually quite an old song. I haven't heard that song in a while.
Yeah, so you got to rely on us to do it for you.
Yeah, you went deep, went to the deep cuts there, man.
We looked for Things Unseen, which is your new and third album, as you've told us on your Twitter page this evening. Things Unseen, Jesse Clegg's third album, but we couldn't find it online or anywhere because it's fresh and the paint's still drying on the album cover.
Okay. Weird. I mean, it's played on all the Prime Media radio stations.
Is it? Well, not here.
Bizarre. Okay, not here. Okay, you guys are playing the old stuff. That's fine.
Exactly.
I'm as long as you're playing it, man. That's all good.
It's solid gold. Make Money Mondays brought to you by Sunlove Private Wealth. Your wealth, our craft. Jesse Clegg's craft, of course, is as a singer and a songwriter. He's incredibly busy. Been in the music business for the last 10 years. His third album is out. He's doing a lot of touring. He does a lot of travel. Before we talk about you and your money, tell me about Dad. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing well, man. He's at home. He's getting better, and he's focused and disciplined. He's working on his autobiography at the moment, and he's looking great, man.
Oh, good. No, we'll give him our best. I mean, he did his farewell tour. Was it really a farewell tour? Will he make a comeback, do you think, or is he just taking it really easy?
It's a farewell tour for sure.
Farewell tour. Okay,
yeah.
Well, I can't wait to get his book. I really can't. I mean, he must have incredible memories from a lifetime of entertaining. What was it like growing up in the Clegg house as Jesse?
I mean, it's kind of hard to analyze because you are...
It was normal.
Yeah, it's just the norm, I guess. You know, I was kind of used to... When I was very young, sort of the first 6 years of my life was spent mostly on the road, in hotels and airports and tour buses, and traveling all over the place, Europe, America, and all over South Africa. And it was a wonderful time. I mean, I saw so much amazing music and met some amazing people, and it was a great kind of education on music and also on life.
But it didn't put you off. I mean, clearly the bug bit really early, and it inspired
I mean, it did in a way. I mean,
I
I always had this feeling of all these eyes were on me, you know, if I was going to do music or not. And it never really bit full on until I actually started writing my own music when I was about 14. But you know, and I also got to see the unglamorous sides of the music industry, you know, the travel and you know, my family was split up for months on end, and how difficult it can be as a full-time career artist. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, and I had a very sort of disillusioned view of what being a musician was. So it was only when I actually discovered that I myself was extremely passionate about expressing myself through music that I thought I could give it a shot.
And it's working for you, it would seem. I mean, you're doing a lot of travel. You've fallen into that trap. You've done a big 7-week tour of 2014. You've just, I see you in LA recently, just looking at your Twitter feed.
Yeah.
You get around a lot.
Yeah. I actually got back from LA last week and then went straight to Dahlstrom for a festival.
All the big lights, eh? All the big,
so it's the traveling is intense. I mean, you do a lot of moving around. You know, when we go on tour in December, I do 25 shows on average, and we do about 10,000 kilometers on the road in sort of 4 weeks. So, you know, you kind of have to get used to it. And it's probably my least favorite thing about doing music. But when you get up on stage and you play to an audience, and you know, you can feel that connection, it really makes it worthwhile.
How important is the physical appearance, going and doing concerts, doing shows to groups of people, to your fans, people who pay money to come and watch you? That's fine. It may help cover the costs of the touring and stuff, but getting the albums bought and getting people downloading the albums, getting people paying for the music.
It's becoming less and less important, to be honest. the music, the actual physical album and having the stuff out online is almost becoming like a promotional tool to get people to your shows at this point.
Okay.
You still make money on streams and iTunes and stuff, but it's nothing like it was, even in 2010. When on my first album, we went platinum, and that was my main source of income was album sales. Now, physical albums, actual CDs, people don't really buy them anymore. So, your income is coming from streams and from iTunes and stuff like that. So the income stream has kind of dissipated, and musicians are having to go out on the road a lot more, just on a global scale.
Completely. I mean, we see so many of the tours that people do, and you go, surely they don't need to do that, and maybe they do it just because they want to get back on the road. Because there's got to be something special about it. I mean, as exhausting as it can be, as you get towards December and you're going on your big 25 gig tour, you've got to be going, okay, I'm looking forward to the first 5. Maybe 6.
Yeah.
Maybe 7.
No, I always look forward to it, man. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's always an awesome time. And, you play I play all kinds of shows, from festivals to intimate theaters to acoustic shows to clubs. I do a whole lot of different stuff in December because there's so much happening around South Africa. So it's just this wealth of just music, and it's wonderful when you go to a new town and you play to people for the first time who haven't seen you before, or you're playing to people who have seen you and they know all the songs. That kind of organic sort of connection that you get from a live show that kind of just lasts for that hour and a half, and then it goes away and we all go our separate ways. That little moment you have is such a special thing, man. It's truly magical. Now,
let's talk money, because that's what we need to do.
All right.
Traveling the world on the tour buses, traveling the world, going to the concerts, going backstage, seeing, I'm sure, in the world of rock and roll and the world of pop, and you would have seen huge excess. You would have seen people behaving incredibly well and people behaving incredibly badly. What was your sense of money as a kid?
I grew up in a family that really emphasized like the internal versus the external. The value of ideas, the value of communicating and committing yourself versus material sort of symbols of status. That was sort of far more impressed on me than the opposite. So I've always been quite cautious with money, I think, and I've also, my biggest expenses are actually just investing back in my art, mostly. I'm not someone who spends on lavish sort of luxury items or anything like that. I've always been kind of cautious, and I've also I've always had a clear sense of if I want to do this for the rest of my life, I have to have money.
Sure.
That relationship between art and money is such a tenuous one, but you get to a point where you realize that as an artist, you actually have to be quite a good businessman, and you have to read your contracts, and you have to know how much tax you're paying and how much, what you're spending on things. And that was a lesson that I've learnt kind of over the years, and it's been very useful.
But you must have. I remember doing a TV interview with your dad about 5 years ago, and I said to him, do you ever see yourself retiring? And at the time, he was fit and he was well, and he was about to go on tour, I think, to Europe, and going, I can't retire. I pull a long train, he said, and he's got this deep sense of responsibility to the bands, to the road crews, to the many people, and he did much bigger format shows and stuff in those days, I'm sure, than you do. You travel light, and as a musician, much lighter. You don't have that same sort of burden, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that you learn how to prioritize, and one of the best things that I did, having done all these tours, and when I started out, I was signed to a label, and there's this kind of this middleman between you and your finances, that you don't really know where the money's going or where it's being spent, and it's just this kind of grey haze.
And you don't know how much you're going to get every 3 months.
Sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't have money, sometimes you just. And then eventually, when I decided to go independent, I actually had a direct relationship with my finances, and for the first time I was like, wait a second, there's far better ways of doing this, and I don't know why we haven't been doing this, just for example, like when we went on tours, we would rent, sound systems and gear and lighting and all that stuff. And when you get to the end of the tour, you realize that you've just spent what it costs to buy all this equipment on renting it. And so then you just take a knock on one of the tours and you buy the stuff, and then you never have that cost again, So those silly little things that you never think about.
That's
and actually
business, though. I mean, that's the difference between the art and the business. And
totally, man. So now, now when I go on tour, I tour with all my own. When I go on tour, I tour with all my own infrastructure. Luckily we've got amazing sponsors as well. My sponsors at Ford have given us a tour bus, and I own all the lighting and all the sound, and so I don't have any production costs. We go out on tour, and it's just far less stressful, and it's allowed me to earn more money, which is fantastic.
And we're going to find out what you do with that money in just a little while. My guest this evening is Jesse Clegg. He is developing a very, very clear Jesse Clegg sound. He has been traveling extensively, doing lots and lots of gigs, not only here in South Africa, but traveling the world as well. More with Jesse Clegg in a moment. Learning from Jesse Clegg this evening that being the artist just isn't good enough anymore. You've really got to have a firm handle on the business side of running your music. Otherwise, you're not going to make ends meet. You're not going to be able to afford to tour. You're not going to be able to afford, frankly, to live off your art. And that is what we're learning from Jesse Clegg tonight. Jesse, I mean, you've mastered the art of playing the music, of drawing the crowds, of selling the albums, of getting the streaming going. That's all the basic stuff done. You're now getting a better income than you used to. Are you able to apply that income to assets that will grow, hopefully, in value over time?
For a long time, when I started out, all my money just went back into my career, and eventually I got to a point where I was like, maybe I'm investing all my eggs in one basket here. You never know. Music is one of those unpredictable things, and you never know what's going to happen. So last year I bought a house, and I'm living there now in Joburg. So hopefully that's going to be a good asset at some point. And I do a little bit I buy some shares sometimes.
Oh, buy some shares. Okay.
I'm not a pro at that, but my dad and my brother are both. My brother's obsessed with Bitcoin.
Oh dear.
And
that's not a
and my dad is, he believes it is, man. So you can have a long debate with him about that.
No,
my dad also gives me advice and stuff.
Short debate. Is your dad good? Is your dad good at investing?
Yeah, he's very good, and he'll always let me know if there's a hot share on the market, so I'll jump in at the right time. But I'm not like reading all the info about it. I just kind of go off of his advice.
Oh dear.
Sometimes it hasn't worked out though. I'll tell you that much.
What's the worst bit of advice Johnny Clegg has given you?
Oh man, I don't know. It's never been terrible, but it's also like the thrill of the risk, So I think there's also an aspect of it that we both just enjoy in terms of like, let's just see what happens, let's put this in and maybe we'll make some money, and we kind of just watch it together, and it's kind of an exciting little father-son thing.
You could just get a series and sit on the couch together.
Yeah, I know. It would probably be a lot cheaper.
Exactly. And you get as much of a thrill, and it costs much less.
Yeah.
Has he ever
probably a good idea.
Okay, so he hasn't given you a disastrous tip. Has he given you a great tip?
He gave me a very good one last year. I bought Blue Label actually, and it was just. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. It was
Blue
MTN.
Label wouldn't be good, and okay,
no. It was MTN. It was MTN, and I bought right at the right time, and I actually made quite a good little pocket money on that one.
Oh,
so
good.
Thanks, Dad.
Well done, Dad. Were you treated like a grown-up as a kid? I mean, you were on the road with grown-ups, living a very grown-up life from a very early stage. But from a money perspective, were you treated like a grown-up?
Yeah, I mean, we were both, me and my brother, we never felt any pressure to do music or to do art or anything like that. We always felt like whatever we did, as long as we loved it and we committed to it and we were disciplined and we had passion, that was more important than actually the the content of what you were doing, just the way you engage with your work. It was very important, and I think that's given both of us a very sort of strong sense of being able to really stick it out. Stamina. You can't have stamina without being passionate, and
Sure.
And I've been around for a few years now, so I feel pretty good.
I mean, you've been in the music business for 10 years, right? I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you?
My first album came out when I was 19, so
19,
yeah, 10 years.
Were you studying at all? Did you study? Did you have the
Yeah, I
fallback
did a
plan?
law degree at Wits. And I did an honours degree in English literature at the University of Toronto. I actually did my honours degree in Toronto while I was recording my second album.
Cool.
Which was very stressful.
What? We're reading all those books and having to record at the same time?
Yeah, like writing my thesis and recording an album and reading, 2 books a week, and it was pretty intense, but
sure.
I wrote some good songs.
But did that help? I mean, the blend of literature and broadening your mind and understanding this enormous richness in literature, and it helps people, artists, see the world differently to the rest of us.
Completely. I mean, I really enjoyed literature. I majored in law and English literature, and but I did philosophy and politics and other stuff. But just as you say, the broadening of your perspective, broadening of your vocabulary as well, which is very good for lyrics, and and also just reading great works of art. Just being exposed to incredible art that's withstood the test of time, and thinking about it, engaging with it in a very intense way was very stimulating for me. I mean, I wrote songs. There's songs on my second album that I wrote about characters in books that I was reading. That's how engaged I was in it.
Sure. When the law degree also pretty useful, I suppose, in terms of
it's good to know how to read a contract. Yeah. That's actually been very useful, especially when you're dealing with labels and agents and all this stuff. And it's been wonderful to be able to actually decipher what you're signing.
It's very important, and also if things do go wrong, to be able to go back and find the important bits to go right, you blighters,
exactly.
and deal with them on a level footing. Do you make good money decisions generally? I mean, you say you poured a lot of money into your business. You've now bought the gear, you've got the equipment, you've got the house. Yeah. Are you finding yourself becoming more conservative at the grand old age of what? Are you 30 yet, or are you turning 30?
I'm 29. I've got 3 more weeks of my 20s, man.
Oh dear, it's almost over.
Yeah, the party's almost over.
It's almost over. You're start playing classical music soon.
Yeah, I think I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm aware of
biggest mistake. Come on.
Oh, jeez, man. It's almost like a series of silly mistakes. Where you spend badly and you waste money, and you look back on it and you're like, I actually just didn't need to do that. Why did I do that? I did a tour, I think in 2011, where I lost a lot of money because we overspent on production and a whole lot of different things. And now, I've learnt how to prioritize, where I get the most value from my business. And yeah, I think I'm a much smarter spender. I probably am quite conservative though. I think when you're in the gig economy, you have to kind of be conservative. You have to know that the next paycheck is not guaranteed, and that you have to save your money, and you have to be ready for a rainy day. And that's just how it is. I don't have a salary. I work when I've got shows.
And you've got to trust the process. I mean, when with physical albums being sold, there were 10 in the shop yesterday. Yeah. There's 7 today. You've sold 3. With streaming, is there a way to audit that? Is there a way to keep an eye on it? Is there a way
It's very difficult, man. Oh. I mean, you're looking at like deep analytics, and it's just, it's not that easy, and the companies are not always that forthright. And I get like it's kind of like a little salary you get every month from streams. I mean, you get royalties and you get stuff like that, which is very good. But the actual streams are, compared to album sales, I mean, I think any musician will tell you that it's nowhere near. Any musician who was around during the golden age of album sales will tell you that right now this is not the most ideal situation for sustainable music kind of careers. But I think in my case, I've been very lucky that I invested a lot in my live career. I do a lot of touring, and I trust that it's going to work out. There's times where maybe there's a quiet month and then suddenly all these gigs come in, and you just have to trust that it's going to happen that way. And I've learned to be calm and collected and to let things unfold the way they will.
Do you use that downtime productively? I mean, when things are quiet, are you able to think about new albums, new projects, plan the future?
To be honest, I haven't actually had any quiet time in the last sort of 2 years.
That's
been
the
pretty
right
chaotic.
answer. That's the right answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year I did over 120 shows, and half of those were overseas. So it wasn't a little downtime right now would be very nice, to be honest.
Yeah, be careful.
Plus, I'm extremely jet lagged.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, the downtime, I spend writing. If there's ever time that I don't have, I'm not traveling, I love to just write. I don't write well on the road. I don't write backstage or hotel rooms. Like, I like to be at home. I like to be watching films and reading books and going to theater and thinking and reflecting, and that's my happy place. So if I've got time at home, I'm writing and sitting with my cats.
There. He's the cat guy. Jesse Clegg, so lovely to have you on The Money Show this evening.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in. Jesse Clegg, of course, musician. He's been in the business for 10 years, turns 30 in 3 weeks' time, and coming to terms with the vagaries of the music industry and the way in which it changes and the way in which it evolves, and hopefully getting a good deal out of that music industry, which has always had a reputation for just being a little bit not in favor always of the artists as it should be. Jesse Clegg this evening on The Money Show.